Hey Amelia, it's really good to see you.
Hello.
How are you
Oh,
doing?
you too. Yeah, I'm really, really good. Thank you.
Good.
Really good. How are you?
Yeah, all right, all right. Thank you so much for doing this. So, me
Nice.
project, we're looking at ordinary wisdom, and this is just to get an idea of the wisdom that every person has in that kind of everyday sense that can be those really helpful tips
Yeah.
to people around us and to our young people. So, I know you've seen the questions already, but the first one, what does having value look like to you?
So I was thinking about this question and I was just thinking value to me looks like really looking at what I need and the needs that I have. So things like security, fun, joy, safety,
Mhm.
rest, and
Yeah,
actually valuing myself enough to know those things and then to give those things to myself. So giving myself time to rest, giving myself time to have joy and have fun, giving
yeah,
myself good friendships, and just knowing that I need those things, that those aren't necessarily a luxury, but
yeah.
actually looking at myself and knowing actually I need those things too, as much as I know my friends need those things, so do I. um yeah, I think that's kind of what value looks like for me.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I guess not necessarily thinking about what do other people expect me to do, or those expectations or wants within
Yeah.
context, obviously, but actually, no, I need this time to do this or to do that. That's really
Yeah.
cool. And so
Yeah.
how have you found having that self-worth have changed how you live your daily life? Just the ins and the outs.
Yeah. Um, I think it has changed it massively. I think one of the biggest things for me was obviously going through school and
Mm.
having like loads of people your age that you're like constantly comparing yourself to, both because as humans we naturally compare, but also like in schools with gradings and stuff, you are like systematically compared
Yeah,
as such.
absolutely.
Um, and actually having that mindset switch, it happened mostly for me coming out of school,
Mm.
and looking at the size of the world and looking at the vastness of like people in general. Like we have so many different needs and desires, and I think it's a beautiful thing that there's so much like difference between people.
Yeah.
It's I think it's made my life a lot more joy filled because I've kind of taken that pressure off myself.
Awesome.
And I've kind of said I don't need to compare myself because I and myself have my own worth and my own value,
Yeah.
and that isn't measured up by the worth or value of someone else,
Yeah.
but it is entirely in its own.
Yeah.
um, and I think that kind of having that less pressure and not putting that on yourself means that you can really live, and I definitely feel like I live day to day a much more kind of eased life, in that I
Mm.
know that I can do things not, and I don't have to earn nice things, but I can do nice things because I'm worthy of nice things.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that, yeah, it does change your perspective massively. And I think it allows you to have really strong friendships as well, because as much as you value someone else, you also value yourself. And so
Yeah.
it's a real good balance between two people, which I think is
Yeah.
fab.
Yeah. Amazing. And what friendships are going to be healthy for you to have as well.
Mm,
So
yeah.
you mentioned about that kind of process through school. What was it that helped you realize that self-worth that you have? Because I would say it's definitely a process, isn't it?
Massively so. Yeah, yeah. And I think like I don't think you ever get to a point where you're like, yes,
No.
I have
Yeah.
now like fulfilled.
Agreed.
Like I still have days where I'm like, oh, like I wish I would change this, or I wish I'd be better at that. And
Yeah.
it doesn't completely go. But I think one of the things for me that really did help with that change was getting really good friendships that
Mm.
spoke really encouraging things into my life.
Yeah.
And actually people that notice the good in you when you can't notice the good in you.
Yeah.
um, that to me was so important.
Yeah.
And I think like when we like come out of school and you've got all these like prospects ahead of you, and because I never felt like uni was for me, so I was
Mm.
kind of the odd one out,
Mm.
because all my friends went to uni. But actually people that spoke into my life and said that you don't need to go to uni if you don't feel like that's for you, but you will still have a really fulfilled life.
Yeah.
That was really, really important for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned about really good friendships. How would you suggest for people who are maybe thinking, yeah, I love that, where can I find that? How do you go about building those really good friendships? Because school can be a real mixed bag, can't it? It can be
Yeah.
really amazing for friendships, and it can be really tough.
Yeah.
What would be your advice on that?
I would say get into spaces where you feel really you. So for me, that was church. That was where I felt like I had a real grounding and I really connected with people.
Yeah.
But also for me, it was my theatre groups, because I love
Yeah.
theatre, and it was a real joy of mine. And actually
Yeah.
getting to that space where I felt really comfortable allowed me to be more comfortable with the people around me.
Yeah.
So I think taking that risk of actually saying, I feel like lonely right now, but I know that I have to really push myself and get into groups that will allow me to meet new people.
Yeah.
And meeting new people can be terrifying,
Yep.
but it can also be the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Because it's like that saying, like, everyone's a stranger until you like meet them.
Yeah. So true.
And every friend was once a stranger. And I think that kind of mindset of, I won't know them until I get to talk to them. And
Yeah.
taking that step of kind of like courage, which is scary, but it really does pay off.
Oh, Amelia, that's so good. Thank you. Before we wrap up, what would be your top tip on the topic of self-worth and having value?
I would say, for me, the best way that I realized my value was realizing that I am my own best friend. And I think actually, because I've if you are watching this today, you are your own best friend, because you've stuck throughout your entire life through the highs and the lows. And I think looking at, because when you have a really close best friend, you treasure them. And if you have a really expensive thing that you've bought, you treasure it and you carry it with care. And actually applying that to yourself, realizing that you are the best friend that you will ever have.
Yeah.
You know yourself so well. And so carry that with real care. I think that's what has helped me, and giving myself the grace to have bad days, but to know that there will be better days. And not kind of getting stuck in a rut of feeling like I'm not good enough, but actually speaking over myself the words that I say to a best friend. If a best friend came to me and said they're having a really bad day, what would I say to them?
Yeah.
And then apply that to myself.
Yeah.
So I think the words you speak are really, really important.
Amazing. Thank you so much, lovely. It was great to
Oh,
see
absolute
you. You
pleasure.
take
And
care.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.